Today, we're diving into a foundational chapter from an ancient Sanskrit text, the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. It lays out a truly epic blueprint for the entire cosmos, and we're going to unpack it together. So, have you ever wondered where the gods and heroes of mythology actually come from? Is there like a single ultimate source for all of them? Well, this ancient text offers a surprisingly clear answer. It gives us nothing less than a divine blueprint. And that blueprint starts right where you'd expect, at the very beginning. We're talking about the origin point for the whole cosmic drama that's about to unfold. Now, this story doesn't kick off with a whole pantheon of gods. Nope. It starts with just one, a single original divine being, the source of everything. In the text, this being is called the Purusha, which you can think of as the primordial cosmic person. This is the starting point. Okay, so to get creation started, this being doesn't just, snap its fingers from a distance. Instead, it does something incredible. It expands and manifests a physical, universal form, a body that literally contains all of potential creation right inside it. And when the text describes this form, the scale is just mind-bending. I mean, try to picture this. A being with thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, thousands of arms and legs, all decked out in countless divine crowns and earrings. It's an entity so vast, it's pretty much beyond our comprehension. Think of the entire universe, but as a single conscious being. And here's the crucial takeaway. This single, magnificent cosmic form is described as the inexhaustible seed. It's the wellspring, the ultimate source from which all other divine beings, all the heroes, all the incarnations, as the text calls them, are going to emerge. Right, so from that one cosmic seed, a whole universe of divine manifestations starts to appear. These are known as avatars, and each one has a very specific job to do in the grand cosmic story. The text then just starts rolling them out, one after another, each showing up at the right time for the right reason. You've got Varāha, the cosmic boar, who literally lifts the earth out of a cosmic ocean. Then there's Narasiṁha, the fierce man-lion who bursts out of a pillar to protect a devotee. You have Rāma, the perfect king. Vyasa, the wise sage who organizes all the secret knowledge. And there's even a mention of Kalki, an avatar who is yet to come. Every single one is a unique expression from that one original source. Now, after laying out this incredible roster of gods and heroes, the text does something really clever. It circles back and forces us to ask a critical question about where they all really come from. And it uses this beautiful metaphor to make the point. It says all these divine avatars are countless, just like thousands of streams flowing across the land. It's a powerful image, right? But it also makes you think. Streams don't just appear out of nowhere. They have to flow from a source. And that is the absolute key question the whole chapter has been building towards. If all these powerful, amazing beings are just the streams, then what or who is the inexhaustible lake that they all flow from? And then bam, we get the climax of the chapter, the big reveal. The text makes a really clear, definitive statement. It says all these other avatars are portions and particles of the divine. They're parts of the whole. But Krishna? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He's not just another stream, he is the lake. So you might be wondering why this whole elaborate story? What's the point of this divine blueprint? Well, the text actually tells us its own purpose, and it's pretty profound. To get it, you have to understand the time period this text was written for. It describes our current era as the age of Kali, a time defined by conflict and spiritual decline. A time when, in the text's own words, humanity has lost its vision. And that's basically the mission statement. The text presents itself as a source of enlightenment. It's meant to be a guiding light, a sun that rises to illuminate the path for people who are navigating a pretty confusing and difficult time. So, if you boil it all down, the purpose is threefold. First, it's meant to collect all the essential wisdom of the sacred traditions into one place. Second, it wants to offer that wisdom as a practical guide for everybody's well-being. And third, it's designed to be that sun, a source of real clarity for anyone feeling lost in the darkness. So, we've just walked through this incredible cosmic family tree, tracing a whole universe of gods and heroes all the way back to a single ultimate source. The text argues that knowing this origin point is a kind of enlightenment, and that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What does it really mean, in any tradition, or even in our own lives, to truly know the source of things?
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are taking a truly monumental journey. We're diving deep into some ancient source material.
A really foundational text.
Absolutely. We're looking at a pivotal chapter, Canto 1, Chapter 3 of the Bhagavata Purā, that, well, many seekers call it the ultimate index of divine action.
It's a master list, really.
It is. So our mission today is to use this systematic list, which was compiled thousands of years ago, to really understand the nature of the Supreme Being and, catalog the major roles he takes on.
And it's not just a list of names. The text goes into why each one appeared.
Exactly. For you listening, think of this as a blueprint for how and why the divine intervenes throughout cosmic history. It's a framework for all those profound stories.
And to get started, we have to begin at the absolute foundation. The text starts with this primary concept.
Which is?
The Supreme Being first manifests as the Paraśurāma.
Paraśurāma, the original masculine form.
Exactly. And this form isn't just, the start of a story. It's more like the source code for the entire universe.
The source code. I like that. The text describes it as a 16-part manifestation, the Onshakala.
Right.
16 parts. I mean, that sounds like a highly technical blueprint. Is that what it is? A sort of divine parts list for how the universe works.
It absolutely is. I mean, the text is very specific. This huge form is assumed purely for the sake of creation locusarya.
So the 16 parts aren't just a random number.
Not at all. They represent the fundamental components you need for material existence. So you have the 11 senses, the 5 material elements, and, the ego. This form is the basis for the entire cosmic expanse, the Lokavistara.
So it's this colossal original body that provides all the raw ingredients for reality.
Precisely. The source material paints this vivid picture of it having thousands of feet, arms, faces, ears.
Just to show the sheer scale.
The sheer scale. But the real philosophical takeaway, the thing to remember, is that this form is explicitly called the original source, Nidhanam, and the indestructible seed, Bijamavyam.
The indestructible seed.
I see.
So every single other incarnation we're about to discuss, every role, it all flows from this one foundational form.
That's the bedrock.
Okay, so let's unpack those subsequent incarnations. If the Paraśurāma is the seed, then the first handful of avatars seem more like the initial roots and branches. They feel like they're focused on establishing order, not fighting huge battles.
That's a perfect way to put it. The first set is all about establishing spiritual knowledge, setting rules for society, and performing basic cosmic maintenance. They're fundamental operational roles.
Let's start with those foundational spiritual tasks, the ones focused on pure discipline.
Right. So you see a real concentration on austerity right at the beginning. The first incarnation, the Kumara, established creation by observing unbroken celibacy and severe austerity. Brahmacharya.
So he didn't create physical bodies or worlds.
He established the methodology for spiritual purification. And related to that, you have the fourth incarnation, Naranarana.
The twin sages.
The twin sages, who focused entirely on internal discipline. They perform this incredibly difficult penance just for self-calm, for Atma Upashama. They're the models of self-control.
Okay, so that group establishes spiritual rigor. But who handles the immediate physical needs of the cosmos? The heavy lifting.
And that's where the form shifts dramatically to meet the physical need. So the second incarnation was the boar, or Sakaram Vapu.
The boar.
And he performed a purely physical task. He showed this incredible strength by lifting the earth, the Mahim, when it was submerged in the nether regions, Rasadala.
That's a cosmic-level physical rescue.
It really is. And then you have the seventh, who is Yanya, and his job is to protect the cosmic timeline, the Manvantara, with the help of the other gods.
So he's like a timekeeper or a guardian of an era.
A guardian of an entire era, yeah.
Which brings us to the teaching roles, the intellectual ones. It feels like there are quite a few of those in this early set.
There are. The text really highlights a series of intellectual interventions. The third, who is Davarshi, he takes the form of a sage to teach the Sattvata Tantra.
And the goal of that is what? Actionlessness.
Naikarmya. Right, the state of spiritual quiet or cessation. Then you get the philosophical heavy hitters. The fifth is Kapila, the lord of perfected beings.
Kapila. He's famous for teaching Sakya philosophy.
The very same. He detailed the true elements, the fundamental spiritual truths that had become, confused or obscured over time. Kalavi Plutam.
So Kapila clarifies reality itself. Who teaches the logic needed to process those truths?
That would be the sixth, Dattatreya. He taught Anvukeki, which is basically spiritual logic, to his disciples. These teaching avatars, they're building the intellectual architecture for humanity.
So people can understand their own existence.
Exactly. And finally, you have the 8th incarnation, Pushingagarbha, who demonstrated the proper path for all 4 stages of life. He was setting the social and ethical standard. The Sarvashrimanamastam.
Right. So that really closes out the foundational phase. We've got creation, rescue, philosophy, social order. And here's where it gets, for me, really interesting. We move from setting rules to, well, immediate crisis management.
Yes.
Where the divine has to get really creative with its physical form.
And what's so fascinating here is how the necessity just completely shapes the form. We go from sages and teachers to kings, aquatic creatures, even angry warriors, all to restore balance.
Let's start with the interventions focused on, say, preserving the physical world. Sustenance.
Okay, so the 9th incarnation was Pritho. He appeared as a king, part of Avaputh, but his main role was agricultural.
Agricultural.
Yeah, he milked the earth for essential herbs and plants, the outed her, to provide sustenance when the world's resources were being withheld. Then you get into the great cosmological rescue.
Like the flood story.
The great flood story, the 10th incarnation, the fish, Matsya. He saved Vaivaswasamanu and the earth by carrying them on a boat during this devastating Chaksusha flood.
A pure survival mission. And right after that, we get a huge engineering task.
The 11th, the tortoise, Kurma. This incarnation took on this colossal, purely supportive role.
Right, holding the mountain on its back.
Bearing the massive Mandara mountain on its back during the churning of the ocean, the Udadi Mahnatam. I mean, it's easy to gloss over, but just imagine the scale. To just hold a mountain steady for a cosmological event.
Incredible dedication. And then we get a dynamic duo, right? Dealing with the nectar of immortality.
The 12th and 13th incarnations. Dhanvantari, the physician, and Mohini, the enchantress.
A physician and an enchantress.
And this shows a really strategic intervention, using both healing knowledge and tactical illusion to make sure the gods got the nectar, not the demons. It shows the divine is willing to engage in deception if it's for cosmic stability.
Which leads us straight into the conflict avatars, where the danger is pure tyranny.
Exactly. The 14th incarnation was Narasiṁha, the man-lion, who dealt with the powerful demon king by, well, tearing his chest open with his claws. The text has this amazing comparison. It says it's like cutting a troublesome weed. Ikaret. Swift, decisive.
And then the 15th, Vāmana, the dwarf, who used a totally different tactic.
Right, intelligence over brute force. He cleverly tricked the king, Bali, into giving him 3 steps of land. And with those 3 steps, he reclaims the 3 worlds, the Triviapam that had been stolen.
The very clever solution. And that brings us to the 16th, Paraśurāma. Now this one sounds, well, remarkably aggressive. Clearing the earth of the warrior class 21 times. How does the text square that kind of prolonged aggressive action with, say, the purely supportive role of the tortoise?
That's a critical point, and it's all about context. Paraśurāma's actions, the 16th incarnation, they're directed against kings who had become hostile to the Brahmins. The Brahma drew Nupan.
So they had destroyed the moral authority.
They had. And the text treats this as a necessary surgical removal. Clearing the earth of a corrupt warrior class, the Kshatriyas, 21 times. Trust with the thought.
So it's aggression in the service of moral balance.
Temporary means to a stable end, yes.
And before we get to the era of the great epic heroes, there's one final preparatory role, which is the preservation of knowledge itself.
Right. The 17th incarnation was Vyasa, and his job was crucial. He recognized that the intelligence of people in the coming ages would be, well, short. Alpamidzas.
A shorter attention span, basically.
So he divided the single monolithic tree of the Vedas into various accessible branches. It was an act of mercy, really, to make sure that sacred knowledge would actually survive the degradation of time.
So we've now cataloged over 20 distinct roles, from teachers to rescuers. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source material introduces a massive theological twist right after listing the most recent heroes, Rāma, Balārāma, and Krishna.
This is where the text just drops its philosophical anchor. It lists Rāma as the 18th, who did great kingly things, and then Balārāma and Krishna as the 19th and 20th, who were born to relieve the burden of the earth. Aharatvaram.
Okay, but if we agree that the previous 20 manifestations were these massive, necessary cosmic interventions, I mean, holding up mountains, restoring the universe, why does the text suddenly single out Krishna as the whole package?
That's it.
what does that distinction even mean for the others, who are just called parts?
That is the pivotal question. The text states it so clearly. It says that while rishis, manus, even minor gods are all considered mere parts, kalo, of the Supreme Being's power, there is one distinct exception.
Wait, is
Krishna is the Bhagavān himself. Kalanstu Bhagavān Svayam.
Wow. That one phrase completely shifts the philosophical ground, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It moves the conversation from cataloging manifestations of divine power to identifying the ultimate source of that power.
I see. So the others are like streams, but Krishna is the river itself, or the reservoir.
The inexhaustible reservoir itself. That statement is the key theological message of this entire chapter. It asserts that the ultimate reality can be understood and even interacted with in a singular, complete form.
And yet, despite this huge, seemingly exhaustive list, the text doesn't end there. It actually gives us a roadmap for the future.
It does. It details two necessary figures for the age we're in now, the Kali Yuga. First, the Buddha will appear in Kakaya, modern Bihar, and his role is explicit and almost unsettling.
What is it?
His role is to delude the enemies of the gods, Suradyam.
Wait, to delude them? That sounds manipulative, not purely benevolent. How are we supposed to interpret that?
Well, it's described as a strategic move in the text. You had enemies of the gods who are using Vedic principles for destructive ends.
Misusing scripture for power.
Precisely. So by appearing as this enlightened figure who rejects the authority of the Vedas in certain ways, the Buddha confuses them. He neutralizes them without direct conflict. It's an intellectual battlefield strategy.
I see. And the second future figure?
The second is Kalki. He will appear at the juncture of the ages, the Yuga Santya, when rulers are basically just thieves. Dasyaprayo Rajasu.
So he's the final cleanup crew.
He's the final corrective warrior for when corruption is total.
So after detailing all these specific interventions, the source material makes sure we know that this list is just an illustration, not the final word.
Exactly. The final point before the philosophical wrap-up is that the avatars of Hari are countless. Azakya. They are compared to thousands of streams flowing from an inexhaustible reservoir. It confirms the divine will just keep intervening whenever and however it's needed.
Which shifts us from specific actions, lifting the earth, dividing the Vedas, to the nature of reality itself. I mean, if the ultimate reality is formless, pure consciousness, Dhamma, then why does it need all these dramatic physical forms in the first place?
This is the ultimate philosophical hurdle the text tackles, and its answer is that these forms, all the ones we've just spent this entire deep dive discussing, are constructed by the qualities of Maya, or illusion. Maya Goenshare Virastam.
So the man-lion, the dwarf, the tortoise, even that colossal Paraśurāma at the very beginning, they're all temporary dramatic roles created by illusion.
That's it.
They're real within the play, but they're not the ultimate eternal reality.
Precisely. The forms are the costumes, and the stage sets for a divine drama. The text says that ignorant people mistakenly see the world of the senses as real, like observing clouds in the sky or dust in the wind magaho horeava.
But it's just an appearance.
It's just an appearance imposed by a lack of knowledge.
So it sounds like the key to liberation is recognizing the actor behind the costume.
Absolutely. Knowing that distinction, the difference between the illusory forms made by Maya and the true nature of pure consciousness, that is what leads to liberation from the cycle of suffering. Dukkha vimusyat.
Which brings us right back to the source text itself, the Bhagavata Purana. It's presented as the vehicle for this knowledge.
It is. It's described as the very essence, sarasara, extracted from all the Vedas and all the histories, compiled by Vyasa himself. And the context of its recitation is so solemn.
It was told to Emperor Pardikate as he was fasting to death.
Yes, right after Krishna had departed the world.
It's presented as the light in a world that had just gone dark.
Exactly. It's explicitly called the sun, the Purarho, for those whose spiritual vision is lost in this Kali Yuga. For those Kalonatasham, it's meant to restore the clarity that time has obscured.
This has been a true deep dive into cosmic roles and responsibilities. We mapped that colossal Purusha form. We navigated a catalog of over 20 specific function-driven tasks, and we hit that critical theological peak. The distinction that Krishna is the Bhagavān himself, the full source, not just a part.
And we end where the text does, stressing that the ultimate self is only revealed when Divi Maya, the goddess of illusion, is finally overcome. So if the entire world, as we perceive it through form and names, is just an intricate, dramatic production, Acted out by the divine being, what specific role, what new character do you think is essential for the current age that hasn't been mentioned yet? Not one of destruction, but maybe one of unique, necessary preservation. It's something to mull over as you consider this systematic flow of history and purpose.